Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Alex, and today we're going to be going through Styling 101 in Webflow. Let's get right into it. Okay, so in this video we're going to do three main things. Firstly, I'm going to show you all the styling elements available to you in Webflow so you can see what you can and can't do. Two, I'm going to teach you and show you the importance of classes and how that can aid us in our styling. And then three, we're going to build out the Declaration of Independence. Now, timestamps for all three of these things will be in the description below, so go ahead and skip forward to whatever section you need. All right, no more talking, let's roll. Okay, so here we go. I have a new project here with a little container with all I have is a little heading, paragraph, some text down here. Nothing styled yet. We're gonna go through all of the elements right now. I'm gonna show you how all of this works. Let's do it. So, first thing I wanna show you is the typography section for styling. And this is as simple as it seems. You know, if you click my heading box here and I wanna change the font, you can do so here. You can import different fonts from Google very simply, which I won't show you now, but no, that's an option. And as you can see, just the font changes as you need. I can change the weight here to bold or normal. I can change the size right here and the text height here if I need a little more space in between my lines. If I want a different color for my font, I just come right here. And if I want to align or underline or italicize, I can do that all right here in the typography section. Another very helpful option here is this text indent section where you can actually indent by the pixel, which I always like doing. So that's nice. And then you can see I can capitalize or uncapitalize everything right here. So it's very nice. So that's the typography section. Now, let's keep moving. We're going to come down to this background section. So with my heading box selected still, I can actually add a background to this element. And I can do so in multiple different ways. Firstly, I can change the color. So I can just change the color of the background right here. So as you can see, you can change it to any color you want, the whole background. Now, if you don't want to do just a solid color, you can also do an image or a gradient, which is also very powerful. So for example, I could choose an image from my collection, and that actually becomes the background of that element. Now, if you choose an image, you have a bunch of other customization you can do where you can cover, you can contain, which is just, it shrinks everything to fit into the box that you have it all in. You can position everything differently if you need here. You could tile and you can not tile. You could fix all sorts of great things here with images. So you can do that. If you don't want to do images, you could do a nice gradient. And this is just like you see in Microsoft Word or PowerPoint or anything you've used growing up. So you can just come in here and just change the colors of your gradient like this. So some cool options here. So that's backgrounds. Now let's keep moving. Let's keep our heading box selected here. And let's come down to our border section. This is our next section of styling. Let's say, for example, we wanted to round the corners. We want to make our box, our heading box here, softer on the edges. What we could do is we could come right in here to our radius section and just add 10 pixels of curvature or radius. And you can see that our edges now in our heading are soft and curved. So that's nice. Now, if you really wanted to get crazy and you only wanted to curve the top left corner of our heading box, you could do so here by opening up this menu and adding 10 pixels just to our top left corner. And you can see our top left is now curved and soft while the rest are still sharp. So some customization there as well. Borders. Let's say we wanted to give this a nice little border. Well, very simple. We can add a style, a solid line here. We could give ourselves the weight or the width of that border. We can change the color of that border to anything we want, which is very nice. And then further, if we only want a border on one side, you can do that as well by using these. And then finally, our final section of styling that we're going to go through today is our effects section. The ones we're really going to touch on here are opacity, which you can see I have complete control of opacity here just by sliding this bar. And then box shadow, my favorite part, my favorite style element is the box shadow, which basically just gives you a shadow behind your box or behind your element that you have selected. So for example, I can add a nice little light gray here. I can change the distance of that so you can see you're adding distance to the shadow. I can change the blur of that just to make it a little softer if I want, and the size as well. So a lot of great customization there too. So those are the key styling elements available to us in Webflow. Taken alone, they don't seem all that powerful, But when you put them together, you can really do some magical things. Now, let's get into classes. Classes are one of the most crucial parts about Webflow. Now, you might ask me, what's a class? A class is just a way to save your styling on one element and then use it on another element very easily. So for example, this box that we've just been styling, this beautiful, ugly box we've made, we have a class, you can see up here in this corner, of heading 10. That's the name of our class. So if I get rid of that class, you can see it just goes back to an unstyled heading. There's nothing there because there's no class. But if I add a heading 10 class again, it all comes right back. Now, this is very powerful because if I go up to this heading, which has no class, and I want to copy it, let's say I'm on a separate page or a different section and I want consistency in my styling, well, it's very easy. Instead of having to go through all of that again, add box shadow, change the font, change the size, all of that, all I have to do is type in heading 10 and boom, you're copied perfectly. So that is the power of classes. It really is beautiful. Now let's take everything we've learned today and build ourselves a declaration of independence. Let's do it. So I'm going to remove the class here and just go back to our unstyled, boring, basic text. Now, let's do this as fast as we can. Here's what we're going for. This is what we're going to make. And we're going to do it all with the style elements that I've just taught you. All right, so let's give ourselves a class here. Heading class declaration. And we're going to change our font to something regal, something 1776, maybe Great Vibes. I'm going to center it because I want it in the middle of my document. I'm going to make it a little bigger. Boom, looking good. Now let's come in here. Second heading, declaration. I want to give it the same font. So let's come in here to Good Vibes. I want it also in the middle, but just a little bit smaller. We'll leave it at 38 for now. That looks good. Okay, now we have our paragraph here. We want a large indent like we see on the declaration. So let's give it a class, just in case we need to copy it later. And we're gonna go with dancing script, slightly different. I need to make this slightly bigger, so increase my font size up to 18. I want to increase my height just so I can read the words that our beautiful founding fathers wrote for us. I want an indent here. So I'm going to come down here to more type options, text indent, maybe of 75 pixels. Now let's make it 100. Boom. Beautiful. Okay, perfect. Now let's grab our div block here. Let's give it a class. This is just a div block that's holding all of our headings and our paragraphs. Let's give it a class. Perfect. Let's just get it off the top so we can see a little bit better. There we go. Let's give it a little bit of margin. I'm sorry, a little bit of padding, just so we get off the edges. There we go. Now we're nice and centered in our document. Now let's change the background of our document just so it looks like a piece of parchment. So that looks pretty good. I want to make it a little radial though. So let's actually come in here and let's go to our radial gradient and let's flip this so it's a little bit lighter in the middle, and then let's just change this color to our document color like that. There we go. There, now it's nice and a little bit different. So that looks pretty good. Okay. Let's go round our corners just so it looks like a kind of a sheet of paper. So round our corners so we have nice rounded corners now. That looks good. Let us give ourselves a box shadow just so it looks like a piece of paper sitting on a desk or something. So we'll come in here. We'll change our blur a little bit. That looks pretty good. So you can see our document is coming together. Now let's come down here to our names. Let's give this a class. Name class. Let's change our font so it looks like signatures. Let's go to our Great Vibes again. And remember, since we're using classes, we can just copy this over and over and over, and the class will all update automatically. So it's very nice. So I can delete all these. And if I change one, since I have the same class applied to all of them, they all change at the same time. So we make these a little bigger, which is nice. We can give a little bit of space here in between them all, just so they have their own room, like this. Perfect. And then last but not least, let's add our John Hancock. So we can take this middle one here where John Hancock signed his name. We can give this a secondary class. And that way it inherits all of the name class. So we have the same font and size as all the rest of these with just the name class. But with Hancock, the second you make a second class, it doesn't affect backwards the other elements sharing that class. So for example, I can change the height of the Hancock, since it's the biggest one, to 40. And it doesn't affect the other names. And so there we go. We now have made a Declaration of Independence in Webflow in less than like 3 minutes. It's that easy. When you harness the power of classes and when you fully understand all the style elements available to you, you can make anything you want. Like I said earlier, one style element by itself doesn't seem that impressive, but when you put them all together, you can make something like this in no time at all. So that's the end of our video today, guys. Thank you so much for taking my Styling 101 Webflow course. If you did enjoy this, please go down and give me a like. If you want to see more content like this, go ahead and consider subscribing. I really appreciate it if you do so. Thank you so much for being here. And as always, peace.